I want to talk now about what are 5 possible IRS red flags for 2022. And what do I mean by red flags? Well, every year, the Internal Revenue Service looks at what's going on out in the world and they look at specific issues. And these are things that when they get in your tax return, my tax return, and take a look, they are filtering through and looking for specific things that will provide that they're going to add scrutiny to those returns. Okay. And there are different issues, different deductions, different things. And we're going to go through the top 5 for 2022 per the IRS. These things can trigger something as like a letter, or they can trigger a correction in your return. They can even lead to a full-blown audit, but it doesn't have to necessarily lead to that. And the thing that I also want to remind folks that I like to make sure that you understand, you have every right to minimize your taxes. You have every right to take every tax deduction, tax credit, and to lower your tax bill. You do not have the right to evade your taxes. And that is not a black and white line. So having said that, let's jump into the child tax credit. It increased for 2021. If your child was between the age of 6 and 17, you received a $3,000 tax credit. If that child was under the age of 6, you received a $3,600 tax credit. 60 million Americans qualified to receive half those amounts in advance because of their income. This is obviously a huge scope. There's been a lot of change. People move, people get divorced, things come in, people don't keep great records. And it is critical that if you have received the child tax credit, and particularly if you have received these funds early, that you need to make sure that you are accurately reporting your income. And you also need to make sure that you're accurately reporting the advanced amount that was paid to you, okay? That's one of the red flags that they're looking for. Staying along the lines of tax credits, there were 2 tax credits last year for education, the American Opportunity Tax, and also the lifelong learning. The first was $2,500 for students, particularly in undergraduate studies. The second was more for career changers or people that were looking for advanced degrees, and that was $2,000. First off, you need to make sure that you file for the correct one. The old adage is if you got a 50-50 chance of getting it right or wrong, 90% of the time you'll get it wrong. So if you think you got the American Opportunity Tax, you're probably going to mark the lifelong. Make sure you know which box you're checking. And the other part is you are not entitled to both of these tax credits in the same year. So make sure that you're not claiming both. You need to file a simple form with this. It's Form 8863. It gets attached to your tax return. If you'll do these things, it will help reduce the risk of having a red flag and greater scrutiny to your account. Now we're going to go to, this is the big one of the year. This is the number one thing that the Internal Revenue Service is going to look at, because crypto transactions in cryptocurrency have exploded. What's been interesting is the IRS has noticed that while all 30 million new transactions are going on, they're not seeing the same increase in reported cryptocurrency transactions. In other words, they're losing out on money. And there is nothing that becomes a bigger bugaboo for the Internal Revenue Service than if they think they're losing revenue. This is going to be the number one thing. So what do we need to do? If you've been trading in cryptocurrency, if you've been paid in crypto, if you paid somebody, if you received interest, dividends, if you received anything in these cryptocurrencies, you need to make sure that you're listing all of those transactions. Next, on early withdrawals for 401k and 403b, and this also extends into IRAs. In 2020, they waived the 10% penalty if you were under the age of 59 for withdrawing from these types of accounts. In 2021, it was restated. It is a 10% penalty on top of the ordinary income. Your custodian is going to give you a 1099-R, and it is going to show that you took this amount of money out. You need to make sure that what you're reporting on your tax return matches up with that 1099-R, and that you were reporting those distributions and the IRS is going to collect their 10% penalty. Finally, we're going to talk about rental income. And I don't know if it's the same around where you live, but all of a sudden it seems like everybody around me has, a house that they're renting either on the weekends or they're doing some rental property. Airbnb has led to a huge explosion of this. If this is something particularly that you started last year, you need to make sure that you're keeping great records. Okay. You need to make sure you're keeping a record of your income that's coming in from rental, and your expenses as well. One of the main things that you need to realize is if you have an operating loss from a rental piece of property, that is passive income. Okay. And if you're working a full-time job where you get a W-2, okay, you're an employee, you cannot take that passive income from your rental and offset it against your active income from your job. They're treated differently by the Internal Revenue Service, and you need to make sure that you're dealing with a tax advisor professional in order to deal with that. Also, make sure you're claiming the same deductions. All of these are easily avoidable. I really hope this helps. I think it stays within the same theme of we want to make sure that we're not taking a backup. We want to make sure that you're not having to spend a lot of times with the Internal Revenue Service. Appreciate your attention today and have a great day.